It wasn't that long ago that I made a video on is Gajeel going to get a fight, and then a while after that was Gajeel needs a fight for this arc, and we ended up getting a fight I don't think anyone really expected, but I think a lot of people are really intrigued to see go down, and that's God Serena against Gajeel. So the the questions around how God Serena is alive, that's got to be just once we get to the chapter and we see like what direction Mishima is going to direct this. Is it because of the Signario sisters somehow? Maybe that's why he's in the guild. Does it have a connection to the Viernes? Or does it have something to do with his actual backstory? Because like, one thing I pointed out, I talked a little bit about on Twitter, was that God Serena, the thing on its back that he walked around with, was similar to the Wheel of Dharma, which can relate to the teachings that eventually lead to someone to get to the point of rebirth. So it's like maybe whatever like the origin of God Serena is relates to a trick way for a character to come back to life. Because if he had something in place that made it so if he died he would have like a one up, I think that's perfectly viable within the verse. It just depends on like how Mishima explains it and connects it with something else. Because I'm not mad about it as long as it makes sense. Like if he's just kind of here because I don't know, like he decided just to stay down and he was actually alive the whole time with Acton, it's like no, there has to be a reason this dude at least made it out of there. Like if it's like they all left and he just decided to die off, but then an ally that he had showed up or something that something that relates to his past that saved him, okay, but who knows for now. Regardless of which, now we have him back in Gold Owl and apparently also an alchemist, which is a really intriguing aspect to be tagged onto him because it opens the question that people have had, is he as strong as he was before or is he stronger? Because is he still a dragon slayer? Did something happen to him? Because we have no idea what exactly it was. There was like maybe with the whole 8 dragon slayer lacrima and the whole idea of like the teachings of rebirth, kind of like that. If that nod was correct, it's like, oh well, having them all in there, you will have a one up in case you have, in case you die, and maybe that's why he was so fine fighting Acnologia because he knew he would have a one up, which would actually be really cool because it would turn his character over from just being this overreaching, powerful guy, but not nearly as powerful as where he was trying to swing up to somebody who just was like, if I lose, I lose. Like, but I have a way out. And then now, does he have alchemy to compensate, like not having dragon sign magic? Is he still gonna have dragon sign magic? My guess is he still has it, but he has alchemy on top of it. Because I think it would make sense for this to be a fight for Gajeel, way more so than say like Natsu with Blue Note, because Natsu with Blue Note we just were like obviously setting into like where Natsu's strength was, whereas Blue Note clearly never moved from where he was on Sirius Island in terms of his power level. Who knows what he did for those years? So clearly he had memory issues or some form of amnesia, so maybe he just got lost and he wasn't training or something. Regardless, it's not, I think, going to be even close to the same with the result of the fight, because well, I guess really the result of the full scape of the fight. I think Gajeel is going to win, but I don't think he'll win as easily as Natsu beating Blue Knight. I think Gajeel is going to be much more of a fight, much more of like a hard hit battle. I don't think it'll be like a Mega Gajeel like huge focus fight, but well, Mega Gajeel like Spotlight, something where he comes out with like able to use Dragon Force or like a new form, unless Mishima wants this, because I feel like Gajeel getting a really big personal moment, like one of those massive milestone kind of fights or moments, with Viernes, with gold being a metal, making more sense for Gajeel. But maybe Mishima will give him something kind of like equivalent to Fire Dragon King mode, or something like that for Gajeel in this fight, and then in Viernes he'll get Dragon Force, who knows. Regardless, right now, we have a match I think Gajeel is going to be in a really weird spot with, because like the difference between Gajeel and the other Dragon Slayers obviously is he's just using metal. He's not using an energy. Like there's that general kind of like magic aspect to it, but for the most part he is obviously using a blunt force weapon. And it's weird because like without Gajeel's Iron Shadow Dragon mode, he has like no hacks or anything really, other than like the whole metal alteration in some scenarios. But like Gajeel, I think, is in a weird spot because with metal versus an alchemist, like he could be just countered obviously right off the bat, but it depends on the degree of God Serena's alchemy and how exactly he uses it. Like if he say just uses it to say like God Serena, because this is like the general idea that I think would be like a really safe way to have God Serena be more powerful than he was before, but not make him just broken. Would be if he has all of his 8 Dragon Slaying Lacrima still, and he has that he can use them, but with through alchemy he can switch the attacks at any point to be a different element. Say like he shoots a fire attack at you, Natsu rushes in to go eat it. He switches it into water or switches it into earth or something like that. He's able just to switch his elements really fast because it doesn't seem like alchemy is as broad as like Full Metal Alchemist, where it's like it's way larger, but like some characters just like they can all do like a basic level, but it's also like some form of like general specializations. Not it not nearly as much of like a power system kind of based thing, but I feel like alchemy is like a weird kind of step between magic and fairy tale and like alchemy and like that general kind of regular, more real world kind of alchemy sense. Because fairy tale seems to have like a little bit of like extra fantasy attached to it, less so than like again Full Metal Alchemist, which uses more of what I think what would be like traditional magic science, is like how alchemy kind of works. Whereas Fairy Tales gets a little bit more like weird with stuff like the whole love and weak bond and rival bond that we didn't see, and then whatever God Serena is gonna do. Gajeel though, I think this could be a really cool fight for Gajeel because if Gajeel learns like a basic level of alchemy and he could change his body metal like from iron to other things, I think that would be a super huge win for his character because that would be like a huge buff in like his general capabilities. He would have such a level of utility that like is just like I'm trying to think of like general metals, like I guess gold, like you become like a superconductor, but it's like what also like you had the idea that gold doesn't rust, so it's like, oh, he's immune to time magic or something, or like maybe he has like turns into like mercury, kind of like Nozel from Black Clover's magic. Mercury's a poisonous metal, he uses something like that. Or maybe he turns into something like radioactive, and he's able to use like some form of energy attacks for that. I don't know, like whatever Gajeel can kind of come up with that would really put him on like a better level of field. Because Gajeel, I think, could benefit with both Diablos and Gold Owl if there's some form of kind of like mutual stance between the guilds at some point. Because we know that Fairy Tail and Diablos, like their time as enemies is pretty limited at this point. I think Natsu and Sadaku will have that situation squashed, and will lead to Natsu training with Diablos and potentially Gold Owl being that equivalent for Gray. So maybe Gajeel could get both, because Gajeel, I think, could just really benefit from again that basic level of alchemy and then move forward from there with Dragon Slaying magic and just become a Dragon Slayer of many metals. Who knows? Gajeel is just in a really good spot to have a really cool fight, a really cool just general moment of spotlight where he's gonna hopefully get something really badass. I don't think we need a more character background driven thing. Maybe we get something where it's like he wants to fight for his family in the future with Levy and their future kids. But I don't think we need something in crazy depth because we know enough about like what Gajeel's been up to over this time, and it'd be nice to see it, but we don't require it. Like just like a couple pages out of like a chapter, just giving us like a refresher, like an understanding of where he's at mentally now. But I would really like if Gajeel's is way more focused on a battle, way more like not as much as like, oh, he's got to learn something, he's got to have some emotional moment. I think with Gajeel, what he needs, because he could have something like that, I think next arc, I think it would fit more then. I think what Gajeel really needs to kind of like kickstart Gajeel into being part of what's going on right now, assuming him and Laxus are going to stay for 100 Years Quest and contribute, is that he gets just like a really cool fight. And I know a lot of people would be like, well, you don't want something that's more impactful to his character. I think that he needs something that's just going to kind of like really put him in a good spot going into like, again, assuming he's going to be in the 100 Years Quest. That just shows he's strong enough, he's capable of, if he gets in a situation, he's going to be able to pull his own weight. It's like, you always want to make sure that characters are shown that if they're going to be there, they have a use being there. They're not going to exist and do nothing. And you don't want that, because then it's like, well, what are these characters really contributing to this adventure while everybody else is working so hard? So if Gajeel, I think, needs to have something that can, will move into a spot for him. Gray also obviously needs like some form of big upgrade, but I think Gray's is being kind of like worked around a little bit more quietly. Whereas Gajeel, I think Gajeel needs something right now to kind of really just pound Gajeel into like a good spot on the team to say like Gajeel is a contributing big member to what's going on, and he's gonna have hopefully a really cool fight with God Serena. Because also with God Serena it's his chance to actually like have a good fight and good display of his capabilities, because he had a good show against the Wizard Saints, but obviously that was just more of a skirmish. We didn't really get to see too much of him. We didn't get to see like too much of like his personality. So only really a little bit of both him in a fight and him as a character. So hopefully we get a good chunk here, and we might even get some backstory for him. So this could be a really beneficial fight, because I think the last thing I'll bring up is God Serena is in a really great spot too, because his character can almost go only up. He can just give like a basic level of backstory, some information on the Signario sisters, maybe on Viernes or Goldal, any of those things, and just like give Gajeel a good fight, and his character value will go up. He'll probably gain some more fans. But anyway, other than that, though, comment below. Tell me your thoughts are about what's going on right now, and your thoughts about the God Serena situation, about Gajeel in a fight, and where you think this is all going to go. But other than that, I really appreciate if you comment below. Thumbs up the video, but feel like, subscribe, and check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate it. Subscribe. Thank you all for listening.